Hello and welcome to Vow, Voices of Wisdom, the show that might not be for everybody, but everybody really needs to watch this show. Today I have a show that is going to be about faith, focus, determination, and desserts. I bet you're wondering, what kind of title is that, right? And I want to read this. I haven't read this in a long time. My show is based on relationships. And relationships are universal, simply because they are all that exists. Nothing has meaning until you decide how it relates to you or how you relate to it. It is the process of making these associations that will determine the outcome of the experiences of life. And today, I have on my show one of the people I had on my very, very first show. And I like to say I am actually coming up on my second year of doing Vow, and it's very exciting. I'd like to thank LTV and the staff for making this happen. But one of the guests I had on my very, very first show is back again today. One of my BFFs, Deebra Mitchell. How are you, hon?
Good.
Good. Today, we're going to talk about faith, focus, determination, and desserts. And I want to share that a lot of times, we as women, we need to support each other and promote each other and really just pump each other up. And today, that's what I want to do. I just want to highlight Deebra today. So tell us a little bit where you came from, where you were born and raised.
Okay, I'm originally from Georgia, 50 miles outside of Atlanta, Carrollton. Shout out to Carrollton. So I actually came every summer to New York, so that's how I ended up in New York in East Hampton. I would come every summer as a little kid. So I kind of got both worlds because I was born in Georgia, raised in Carrollton, but I spent a lot of time, it's about equal, so it's like 10 to 15 years per state. Because then, once I got all the education here.
Oh, so you get most of all your education here?
North.
And New
and then
York.
I will work down south.
Really?
Yes.
That's a flip, right?
Yes.
Interesting.
So
what jobs would you do when you go back to Georgia?
When I graduated high school, I ended up going back to Georgia. And, actually, from high school to college, because I went to LIU, Southampton, Long Island University, and got my business degree. And I ended up working in a manager at a local grocery store.
In Georgia?
In Georgia. So I graduated and went south and did management for like 8 years.
What was that like being a female in a manager's position?
Oh my gosh, and it was supposed to be called a fast track. And I'm like, okay, and I started out doing, I was in the office. And I'm like, this is not me, I cannot sit in this building. I'm a free spirit, freestyle, I like to go and come. And I'm like, this is like for old ladies, I can't sit. It was payroll, but it was payroll and coupons and paperwork and pushing papers, and I'm like, I got to get out of this office. I got too much kids and too much. I just graduated, and I had to, just start somewhere. And I'm like, and they realized I had graduated. One of the managers came by. He was like, you have a business degree? Yes, I have a business degree. And can I get out of this situation here, pushing papers? So once he realized, and then we talked, and he's like, you ever consider going into management? Yes. So, because it was marketing and management was my degree. So I did the management and had my own store, which it was very hard. I had to work 3 times as hard. Because it was a man's world. And when you see managers in a grocery store change, it was a grocery store, so it's like all males. And then when you do see the women, either pharmacy or the deli bakery or the, service sections. And so I had to work 3 times as hard. And the same manager that's recognized that I had a degree, and it was a holiday coming up, Easter. It was Easter. And I was just getting into, the things of God and getting into the church. And so he was like, I said, oh, I need to take this weekend off. You can't go. It's a holiday weekend. I'm like, okay. He was like, so you can't take off. And I was doing the training each department then.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't have the store then. I'm like, well, I just have to pray about that. You do what you got to do. He said, what did you say? Because he walked off. I said, well, I'm going to pray about it. He said, you know what? Just go.
Oh.
He said, go. Don't put Jesus on me. Just go. He said, because I'm like, my God, do I have a job when I got back? Because he was like, no, just go, have yourself a good time. And I came back because my sales was so high.
Okay.
So he didn't have no choice because I was praying over my little department, my little customers coming everywhere. And they were like, this department has not ran like this since it started.
So not only were you bold enough to step out to do a manager position as a woman, but then you was bold enough to step out and talk about your faith.
Yes.
Which is usually not done much.
Yes.
But as we can hear it worked.
It worked for me, and it still does. That's all the positions that I have gotten, Lord had to show me, because I create them when I get there. It's really not a position. They're just like, even when I worked at Sony Music in Carrollton, and they were like, I'm just not an inside person. This was a factory. So Sony Music records, CDs and records and stuff. So I'm like, I ain't gonna be sitting here folding. What do you do? Just put this in the case. You're just putting it in the case.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is mundane. This is, So I'm like, can I do something else? They're like, you know how to do a forklift? Sure. Didn't know how to do no forklift.
You said forklift.
Forklift to get them and unload them. So I drove the forklift and I take it to the workers.
Wow.
I would go get their work.
Okay.
And take it to them, and they work.
Well, see, that's another thing I want to emphasize on this show about the boldness and reaching out and going beyond.
Yes.
And not staying in the cubbyhole, not staying, literally, like you said, staying boxed in.
In the box.
Because we can, as women, go that extra mile and do those things sometimes. And I don't really promote feminism, not necessarily for me personally, because I believe in being a woman. I'm a woman. But we can also, as women, take on these positions and do them well and beyond what is expected of us.
Yes.
And you have proven that, which is great. And the other thing now I want to talk about is how actually I first met you. You inspired me you started your own restaurant called Gone Fishing.
Yes.
And talk a little bit about the boldness of doing that as well and some of the lessons you learned.
Oh my gosh, it was so many. Even with the grocery store business, I learned a lot. Even within that, I learned love walk. Every walk I have learned was through that. But I was on that job at the time I was thinking of going fishing. And when I'm like, okay, Lord, these people really get my patience, my love walk, every trial and tribulation was during that process. And I'm like, so I was preparing for my business. I even bought a van. They're like, what do you need with a van? It's just you. You got a husband and 5 kids. This is for my business. Everything was for my business.
And see, that's part of what faith is all about.
Oh, yes. Nobody couldn't tell me I was not going to be in business. It took 10 years, but nobody couldn't tell me. I saw the vision. I saw it. I knew what it was going to look like. I even went with one of my girlfriends' pastor wife to North Carolina. It was in my head, but I couldn't explain it to you. And once I went there with her, it was kind of a sad incident, but she had to go to a funeral. So I'm venturing. I drive on down. I drove with her down there, and this restaurant had mirrors all over the wall everywhere, and mirrors, and I'm like, this is what it is. This is, because I kept saying, I want when you walk in, it's like a fish tank.
Oh, got you.
I wanted to have like you in an aquarium.
That's cool. That's cool.
So, and then my mom introduced me to this guy. He painted a mural on the wall, which is like a fish tank. So I'm like, okay, and it was coming together. Because even when I saw the building, the guy, it was brand new, he was building it. Land, saw it framed, saw it come up. I said, I'm going right over there. And everybody like, what? I said, that's my building. That's my spot. That's where I'm going, my mom. Because you can't tell everybody.
That's true.
Because you got dream crushers. And so
that's true.
I knew.
And that's key too.
Yes.
What you just said, like I said, I really want viewers to hear what she's saying about certain aspects of staying faithful, focused, determination. And we'll talk about the desserts later. But, really, you can't share all your dreams with everybody because you have people that are haters.
Yes.
And they will crush your dreams.
Yes.
Because it's jealousy.
Right.
You deal with jealousy.
And so once I told her, and we had just came back from a conference, as a matter of fact, it was Dollar Conference, and I said, my cousin that ended up working for me too, my cousin, she was the master at the coleslaw, and my mom was the master at the hush puppies. And they thought my mom owned it because I was still doing I had my own store at that time.
Right,
so they thought it was hers. So I would just come in, and then, and so they were like, my mom was like, she's crazy like that. She said she going in there, I don't know how she going in there. And you cannot let money determine everything. You're always going to need money.
Yes.
So you still got to step out in faith.
That's right.
I didn't have the money, but I went into this new building, designed the kitchen myself, and did everything that I had in my head, and it came to pass. So I had a little funds that I saved up, but that ain't enough to go and open up a whole restaurant.
Right.
Or, so don't let anything distract you or fear, which is the biggest one. Right. Because you'll never do nothing.
Because I know they say if you have fear, you can't have faith. You have faith, you have no fear.
You can't operate in the same space. They can't.
Exactly.
They cannot operate.
It's going to be one or the other.
One or the other.
That's right. So I had the pleasure of going down for your grand opening. It was really exciting. I actually worked in the kitchen a little bit and worked at the tables. But it was just so inspiring to hear you say you were going to open up a restaurant and then actually open up. Because so many times we have dreams that we don't fulfill. People have died and not fulfilled some of their dreams. But to see the manifestation, actually seeing the ribbon cutting of your store, of your restaurant, going fishing. And the food was excellent. The fish, the hush puppies, the coleslaw. It was really, really, really a great inspiration to me, to see a woman of color even. Not just a woman, but also a woman of color. To have that determination to fulfill your dream, And like I said, again, I'm going to keep emphasizing this to the audience. I want you to hear the story so you too can have that faith and that focus and that determination to do whatever dream you have as well. And so now I also want to talk about how you kept it moving. The restaurant, after you left, the restaurant, you finished with that and it was time to move on. So you kind of moved on and you refocused and you reinvented yourself by going back to school and getting more education. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, and for the ones that, it was hard because that was my baby and it was my dream.
Yeah.
And when the Lord really had to deal with me with that because I lost it. I went bankruptcy, the whole nine, and it was like, how can I Lord, I depended on you and I trust you. How did this happen?
Yeah.
But once I had to refocus, bounce back, get myself together, and he showed me it was more to me and more levels. So, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? I was walking in the wilderness, so to speak. And then once my eyes got open again, I got a little push, of going back to school. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I was watching TV. I said, Lord, if you just open up that door, I want to do that. And that's culinary school.
Okay.
So that's how I got to go to the culinary school. I called the number, and I'm like, okay, I go have an interview and everything, and it's like, Lord, can I really do this? Lord, you open up the door. I don't know how this going to work. I ain't got a dime to my name, bankruptcy and all, but I'm going to this school. So I end up going to the culinary school first. And then that's how I got into culinary. And I told my mom again. She's like, she's whatever she said she's going to do, she's going to do it. She's like, how you got? I don't know how. So I did the 18 months with the culinary.
And where was this at?
And, La Cordon Bleu in Atlanta.
Okay, okay.
Then, I said, okay, now I need a job. So it flip-flopped. I did the Cordon Bleu in Atlanta, then I ended up coming back to New York working. So that's how I ended up here doing the culinary.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up going to the school once they realized, okay, have you ever considered teaching the kids how to cook? I'm like, no. So that's how I ended up going to Queens for Family Consumer Science. So I'm a certified teacher as well, and to teach the kids how to cook, even though Family Consumer Science is more than just cooking.
Right.
So that's how I end up with both of those. So whatever it is, you can't let go. You got to just hold on.
And you have your master's now. I want to proudly say that.
Yes.
You have your master's now.
I have my master's now in Family Consumer Science. So from a bankruptcy to an associate for culinary to a master's.
Exactly.
And so you can't tell me you cannot do it.
Exactly.
Because I was zero. I mean, literally out, homeless, pretty much, to where I had to stay here, stay there, and everywhere. So God will make a way, and He will provide.
That's right.
You just got to trust and believe, and that's where I'm at now. Is, do you really trust me?
Right.
And it's like.
And so we do learn out of our trials. What happens? What I believe what happens with us is through our trials. Sometimes we fight our trials and tribulations, but through those trials and tribulations, we really get to know who we are.
Exactly.
We get to examine ourselves and see our weaknesses, and also to see our strengths.
Right.
You know, so I think that, we should never fight trials and tribulations, because there's a reward in that, and there's a reason for the process of that. And of course, we cannot go without talking about our desserts that's on this table. I was going to talk about that later, but we're going to just segue a little bit now, because you are now the
baking and pastry chef
for
at a local restaurant. And, well, I give them a plug, because if you need to come and test, and, it's downtown in East Hampton, Chittanova. So, and I make 12 flavor. I'm the master at gelato.
And on that note, we're going to still do our investigation, but far as I know, you are the only, I repeat, only dessert chef that's making homemade gelatos on the premises.
Every day.
Every day.
It has to be made every day.
And you are not Italian. Are you Italian?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I even went to Italy to get some more education on it.
And I'm glad you want to mention that as well. You really, because the point I want to make too is when you are doing whatever you decide to do, whether it's culinary school, whether it's plumbing, whether it's a teacher, it's important to be an expert in it.
Yes.
So you took the time and flew and went to Italy.
Yes,
to learn how to make gelato.
Yes.
I mean, for real.
For real.
So, the point we want to make here and drive in about the determination.
You can't, it's whatever you want. You only limit yourself.
Exactly.
You only limit yourself, because if you have to wait on money, you'll never have it. You'll never get it. I started out minimum wage doing this. For me to go to South Africa and to Italy, and what other major trip? Where
was it?
Ecuador.
Yes.
So so you can do it. Yes. It's how you spend your money. It's how wisely, and the Lord will give you wisdom in the things. But you gotta invest in yourself, and you gotta just you can't hold it. And just let it go.
And I also want to make a point of the importance of loved ones and friends of support.
Yes.
Because we do need all of that too. You know, but it's also important to make sure you have the right people surrounding you.
Yes. That's going places, even if they're not, they still could plant a seed in you with wisdom. Because I even call you up, oh, guess what? Oh, I need you. And we talked 2 or 3 hours, and it's like, oh, I needed that.
Right. Because we have to support each other and encourage each other.
Yes, to refresh. And so even calling you, my mom, and, you know, you got to have that support team.
Yes, yes.
Because you do get a little low. When you get in them low moments, you just pick up the phone or call, text, however, computer, email.
Right.
You know, even you get those little poems and those little things now.
Yes.
So you can get a word of encouragement. You know.
And, you know, we also, as we go through our life, we know that sometimes we go through distractions.
Oh, yes.
And that kind of takes us off track sometimes. But the great thing about it is we can get back on track.
Yes.
And that's another thing I want to emphasize today. You know, we all get off track. We all do. You know, but the most important thing is to remember to get back. Get back on track.
Because actually I thought the school really got me off track. And I end up with a master, and I'm like, Lord, what? I don't want to feel like I'm leaning on the wrong building. This is, you know, it was, I'm thinking part of the plan. But he said he'll make it to my good. Even if you do get off track, he still make it to your good.
Absolutely.
So that was a little detour. I did kind of do that on my own. It was a little detour, but now I'm back on track, and now more focused, and now I can pretty much write my own ticket. So.
And that's important. That's important. But, you know, also, too, in this process of the faith and focus and determination, and we're going to get to the desserts, we get to know who we really are, and we get to know ourselves, and we get to love ourselves.
Yes.
We start really loving ourselves. And I think that's so important to really get to that point, because sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves. Did we do the right thing? Did we not do the right thing? But we really have to get to that point where we have to know, begin to love ourselves. And that begins to actually, you know, from the inside out, we begin to love ourselves. And that shows in what we do, and it shows in, you know, people that we meet and who we surround ourselves with. So that love thing is pretty important. It's pretty important. You know, and we have to have that love in God and and the love of God in us.
Exactly.
In order to, you know, show that and to bring that out too.
Because we are worst enemy and our worst critics.
That's true.
Ourselves. So when we put that condemnation on us, we put all that burden and all that weight on on ourselves. When God just freely love. He said, you owe no man nothing anyway but to love him.
That's right.
So you put all the pressure on yourself.
And then we also have to silence the negative noise. You know, because, I mean, all around us is all negativity. So much negativity. So, you know, we have to silence that too. You know, so we talked about faith, we talked about the focus, we talked about determination, and now we're going to talk about our wonderful desserts that we have here. And I think, you know, before you give us each one of the desserts, you know, I think it's important for you know, viewers to know that these desserts that Deebra makes are absolutely, positively delicious. She is no joke. I mean that. And, you know, I've really encouraged her so many times, and this is only the beginning for Deebra. I'm just letting you know, because with the desserts that you make and the determination you have had, this is stuff that, I mean, she has her own show right here at LTV, Real Talk in the Kitchen, but it's more to it. And I'm going to continue to encourage you. This is the main point I want to make for my girl, my BFF, is that it's more to it than what you have here. I see you on television, not just LTV, but more than that. I really, really do. And so I'm going to continue to encourage you. But now I want you to tell us, what do you have here before we get ready to fork it up?
Okay. Now, this is the famous.
And it's the famous.
The famous, because everybody's hooked, I guess, like crack, as they say. But the tiramisu, and it's just drizzled with chocolate. And it's 2 layers, because most people might make 1 layer, but I do 2 layers. And this is the ricotta cream cheese, with cream cheese cheesecake.
Oh, so that's the difference.
That's the difference.
But it looks like it's some kind of icing on that, too. What is that icing? Or is that a secret?
You know I'm good for my secrets.
You are.
But no, it's actually powdered sugar that I sprinkled, but due to time, that it kind of
It looks really nice. The presentation is just
melted
beautiful.
there. But I make my own lemon zest. I peel the lemons
Oh.
and I make candy. It's a candied lemon.
Oh.
So it's a ricotta lemon cheesecake. So
Wow.
so it's not sweet.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I put the powdered sugar on top.
Okay.
And my own lemon zest, my own lemon candy. It's not a zest, it's candy. It's zest inside though. And these are banana nut muffin. Some has blueberries. I was playing around for you this morning.
Okay.
So I made those this morning.
Okay, so some of them have blueberries.
And some of them just nut
plain.
and plain.
Okay. Okay.
And that's the chocolate cake with mascarpone icing.
Oh my
Mascarpone
goodness.
icing.
Okay.
And that's my biscotti, but on the menu is cantucci.
Okay.
So they're biscottis, as you would see in your grocery store. And those with hazelnuts.
Okay. So we're going to get ready to shut down the show. But before we do that, she's going to pass me my most favorite and put it on this plate for me. But Deebra, as you do that, again, you know, I want to continue to encourage you. I'm very proud of you.
Yes, thank you.
It's exciting, you know, actually being a part of your journey. You know, it's very, very exciting being a part of your journey. And again, I want to encourage people. You've heard her story. I want you to watch this DVD, watch the show over and over again and listen to specific points that she made about focus and faith and determination. And I'm going to enjoy these desserts because it's really delicious. So this is Brenda, Voices of Wisdom. And this is my wonderful BFF, Deebra Mitchell.
It's a pleasure.
And it's been a pleasure always to meet you and to be a friend for you, you know, be your friend for all these years. And I'm excited what's going to happen in your life. I'm really excited. So this is Brenda, Voices of Wisdom. And have a wonderful day. Bon appetit.